It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Steelers Real Men podcast with the Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. How are you doing tonight?
Doing
Good,
great,
buddy.
Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You were having a little problem with it Real Men or Realm? The Steelers Realm. I thought I was bad pronunciation, Brandon. I'm glad we and you got something in common. You listen to the show, you can tell I butch shit up all the time.
Y'all talk about how y'all knew that y'all wanted to start a podcast dealing with the NFL and with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You want me to grab this one, TA?
Absolutely, JT. This
All right,
is
buddy.
all you.
So, what used to be the famous TA and myself used to work for the same company. So, we were out on the road in sales every day. But at the end of the day, on the way home, we'd call each other, hey, man, I was going over there, going over good over here. But, hey, just talk about the Steelers. And we'd end up talking about the Steelers the whole way home. So, as soon as we got this podcast started, we're like, man, got to get TA on here, man, instead of us spending all that time. Although we had some great conversations and time went by on the ride home all the time. We're like, well, let's put it on a podcast, man. Let's put this all together. So that's kind of where it all started, with the help of one of our buddies who was the man with the plan initially. Yeah, the scientist, the man behind the concept. But we ran with a different name for what was it, about the first year, maybe?
Yep. Yeah, about the first year we ran with a different name.
See, we were the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. That's what we started out as. But so, PA was on. There was the three of us, actually the four of us, Dev from Latrobe, and then he got kind of into some other stuff, and we kept it rolling with the three of us, and then over time players change, but the product is still the same. So yeah, man, that's how we kind of got started into it. And so now we've grown, and we have three of us plus partner with another fellow local podcast, Steelers podcast. Would be remorse if we didn't throw a plug out there for Bubba Brewer and his Triple B Experience podcast, who will be on with doing a mega cast where we get two podcasters, same topic, two podcasters in one show. So we'll be doing that to kick off the season predictions and whatnot coming up next Tuesday. So that's kind of brought us there, man. Hope I didn't take up too much airtime there with that, but give TA the reins from here on out.
Of course, TA, what was it like at getting started and covering the Pittsburgh Steelers, and how did y'all know that y'all wanted to cover the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh, that's easy, man. I mean, we were born and bred black and gold since, birth, more or less. I mean, that's what us Yinzers do. This is the time of year where you smell that fresh cut grass, the dew sits on it a little heavy in the morning. You can just smell and feel football in the air. And when it's football season, it's time to rock. And what better way than with the black and gold? So when this podcasting thing came out, especially for a couple old guys like us, hey, we can rock it with the young guys just as easily. They might not be as technically savvy, but we got a bunch to say too. And you guys only know what you see today. We know what we've seen our lifetime and then some. So we're just trying to spread a little wealth and knowledge and hope that somebody gathers it and looks back before it started, because Steelers were not always the Steelers that today's kids know. There were some rough times. Am I not right, JT?
Yeah, certainly there were early on in their history. And then, of course, You went to, for the what became known as the the city of champions with four Super Bowls in the 70s. Things certainly dropped off through the 80s as well. Almost a decade of undecadence through the 80s with a ever flowing
Cast of merry
players.
men.
Yeah, cast of merry men, donning the black and gold. But yeah, some lean years, and I'm sure just about any team's fans will can appreciate those lean years, and have gone through them too. But yeah, I made it through there, and
Of course, what are some of the different segments that you have covered on the Steelers podcast?
Oh, dude. It depends on the time of year you're listening to us. So, like now that football's getting up, we've got the pre-show, we've got the post-show, we've got by the numbers, the ambulance report. I mean, there are so many segments that we try to incorporate in the show just to keep it different. And, we're constantly trying to come up with some new things. And I tell you what, anybody who's listening, this radio gig is not the easiest thing when you're just a couple of man show trying to figure it all out. I mean, am I right or wrong, JT? I mean, most radios have a
absolutely.
whole staff. You ain't got that with a podcast.
No. We are the writers, the producers, the marketing team, the sales team, the CFO, CEO, you name it. We all got to do it. So, as you well know, that's certainly pretty tough. But the passion for the team itself is what keeps us going through it. And we're always looking to better ourselves and to reach out to more audiences and just try to share our knowledge and just our thoughts, even so much. Because let's face it, Brandon, there's a lot of ESPNs and like there's plenty of statisticians and the big names in the sports world, and we're not trying to be them. We're just trying to be a couple of fans getting on the air and talking shit with Steelers football. So hopefully people will enjoy our show, and we bring some knowledge and some thoughts and controversy along the way.
Don't forget
So,
laughter.
Yeah, man. And laughter. Oh, yeah, a lot of silliness, too. A lot of silliness.
Of course, during the football season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, what are some of the things that you covered during this season?
Oh, look, we'll get one thing about us is we're not censored. So if we see and smell that it's shit, Brandon, we're going to call it that. Or if we see that it's good, we're going to call it that as well. We may even argue to disagree. As JT alluded to, we're just a couple of yinzers in the garage drinking beer after work, talking what we see or hear or listen through the media channels that are available, but at the same time giving our opinion on what we feel. Because at the end of the day, most fans are just like us. We want to see a great product on the field. And right now, like for this season, this may be the most flawless, cleanest, unbelievable off season the Steelers have had in my lifetime, JT. I don't know about yours, but I cannot remember revamping a team like we've revamped right now and be this excited about it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. It's just almost a new way with this team and what they've been able to put together. And we thought at a certain point, maybe they kept with too many older players too long, just because of their faith in them and their dedication to some of these players. But in the end, they managed to turn it around. Last 2 years, I would say, wouldn't you, TA? I mean, it started last year in the off season and has continued through, building back the team the right way, Steeler way, and a lot of excitement about it. Now everybody's enamored with the Joe Burrows and the new quarterback, the massage therapist abuser quarterback the Browns have now for $100 gazillion, of course, Lamar Jackson from the Ravens. And so, we love being the underdogs, man. We love being under the radar, flying under the radar. Let them think that. But I think you're going to see this team's going to surprise a lot of people.
Of course, what has
A
that
lot of
been?
people.
What has that been like getting to cover the years with Ben Roethlisberger and now with Kenny Pickett in the mix?
Go ahead, JT. I'm gonna let you take that one.
All right. Well, I come from the history of watching Terry Bradshaw get benched for Terry Hanratty and that kind of stuff, and yet see him win 4 Super Bowls, and then see his skills diminish, and then go through the quarterbacks of the 80s. But then Ben Roethlisberger, big, tall, lean guy out of, University of Ohio at Miami. And the excitement around him and the chip on his shoulder that he came in was certainly, several decades of fans are the only quarterback that they knew as, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's an era and a half of that same Ben Roethlisberger being there. And so, unfortunately, I think in the history of the Steelers and their quarterbacks, way back when Dan Marino from the University of Pittsburgh was a top draft pick, and the Steelers passed on him, a Pittsburgh native and player that I don't know. There was maybe that element in the choice of grabbing Kenny Pickett when they could, that maybe sat in the back of their mind from time to time, like pass on another Pitt superstar quarterback again. So, I'm really excited to see the transition of this team go from the Ben Roethlisberger era, Kenny Pickett take the reins and move on with them. I think he's shown already in the preseason a lot of prowess, a lot of patience, a lot of growth, and a lot of maturity. And the game seems to be slowed down for him now, rather than as the way it was, a rookie coming in. So,
Of course, with covering the Steelers, who are some of y'all's favorite players and memories that y'all have had covering the Steelers?
Brandon, as a Steelers fan,
you better restart the timer, man. That's a pretty big question, bud.
yeah, I don't think you got enough time. I mean, when do you want to start? You're talking to 2 old guys that can take you back to L.C. Greenwood, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, all the way to the years of Bubby Brister, Louis Lips. I mean, Cole.
Bam Morris.
So
Yep.
Bam Morris. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, until even the modern era of Troy Polamalu, the Bus, Dermontti Dawson, even Ike Stonehands Taylor. I mean, to even, to this era of, Najee Harris, Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. I mean, TJ Watt. I didn't even mention Greg Lloyd or James Harrison. There's too much. There's just too much to name, and I only hit an eighth of them.
Of course,
all right, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick one, though, TA. All right, and then you can go back now that you've got a chance to think about it. Just pick one cool moment in Steeler history, and I'm going to tell mine, and then that'll give you a sec to reload it. So basically, day before Christmas, and my dad was getting all worked up. We were going somewhere on Christmas Eve. My dad was getting all worked up about something on the radio, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? All of a sudden, he pulls over, and he's like, he did it. They did it. He did it. And I'm like, what's going on? And like, my mom was like looking at him like, what the hell's the matter with you? So they did it. But it was like, they beat the Raiders. Or like, what? So here he was listening to the Immaculate Reception on the radio at that time. I'm like, he had tears in his eyes, And I thought at that point in time, that's if that's that important to my dad, this is something that's going to be important to me. And so that was my break into the Steelers. And then, of course, everything from there on is only built on it. So one of my favorite moments, Steelers wise.
Well, I'll tell you what, then, JT, we're going to just stick with the Christmas stories, all right? And we'll go from past to the future or present, and then there's still future to come. So I had never been to a Christmas Day game, and we had played the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day. And I had my whole family. I said, look, this is what we're going to do on Christmas. We are going to the Steelers game. And it was me and my childhood buddy who had went to the game with his family. This is how we spent Christmas together, was tailgating. There was no opening up presents or nothing like that. And we sat and we watched that black and blue game all the way to the end, where it was a typical Steelers Ravens game where you didn't know who was going to win, when it was all of a sudden Antonio Brown with the miraculous catch and reach for the end zone that sent us into the playoffs.
Of course, what has it been like getting to have the Triple Bs be a part of the podcast and having a segment with both them and your show?
We love it. If you ever listen to the Mega Podcast, getting with Bubba and the Triple B boys, I don't, there's too much testosterone and energy. It's like having that Friday night garage party where everybody is just too excited and wants to have their own opinions, and it's all coming together in a mosh pit. And it's like, whoo, wait to see who gets knocked on their you know what.
Yeah, and we have our own shows, but love, like, if we could be one team together, we certainly would. So that's what our MegaCast is all about, is being one team together. Because I tell you what, there isn't anybody more passionate other than us than the big bad Bubba Brewer over his Steelers. As a matter of fact, that's how I my first encounter with Bubba as a pro wrestler and a bouncer was chatting Steelers with him.
What Steelers player present would you like to interview in the future?
TJ Watt.
Ah, nice one. Nice one. Heinz Ward for me.
He said
What-
present, that's past.
Oh, well. All right, current on the roster, present. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you're looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to say Cam Hayward then.
What
That's
Steelers
a-
player would y'all like to interview that is in the Hall of Fame and that is past player, if you could?
All of them. I'm greedy, Brandon. I want all of them.
That's right. Hey, put all the names in the hat. I don't care. I'll just pick one. Pick one. Good question. Not to dish your question, though. But I would have to say Jack Lambert. And an interesting thing about Mr. Lambert is that, once he retired, he still lives locally in the Pittsburgh, suburban area here. And never wants to talk football. If you met him on the street, you'd recognize him. Talk to you about anything except football. But I would certainly like to sit down again after all these years with him and pick his brain about some things, certainly, and his thoughts on playing the game then and playing the game now.
Of course, what are some of y'all's future plans with the Steelers Real Men?
Go ahead, JT.
Oh, no, man. We just plan on expanding our listenership. You get down and order pizza. You want to get down and order pizza? Hang on
You
a
see
second.
that, Brandon? We also want to order pizza on expanding
Got it.
our podcast. I'll take
That's
over,
right.
JT.
We gotta we want to be able to afford to buy a pizza, dude. Uh, so no, we just want to grow our listenership, man, and we just want to get out in front of people, and share our opinions of the team and get their feedback and interact with them. And so, hopefully this Pro Sports Fans, which is PSF, prosportsfans.app, and come jump in the app and explore it. It's for anybody that loves sports. It's one place to bring it all together too. So we're looking to grow that, become part of something that's just a startup and kind of new and fresh, and pretty much it, I guess. TA, what are your thoughts on where we're going, man?
Look, I want to get to the point where we've been recognized quite a bit over our history of being started. And we've had a lot of highs and a lot of, oh, here we go. And then it just dies down. And then, oh, here we go. And it just dies down. I don't want to be on that roller coaster ride anymore. I want to get the phone call from the Rooney family saying, look, we get it. You're just fans. We want you to come be a part of spring training, be a part of a game or two. We're not asking for the red carpet. We're not red carpet guys, but to at least have access to players throughout the years, just to jump on and just talk, nothing that the media puts out today. We're not that group. We're not, we just want to talk. We want you to feel comfortable, like you're in the garage. Just talk, man. Just a couple old pals, man. That's it. And give the fans what they really want. Sometimes today's media is just too polished.
Of course, in the future, do y'all plan on trying to interview former Steelers players or even current Steelers players that are playing?
Former Steeler players, we try to interview them all the time, and we've had a great plethora of Steelers, old Steelers that we've done. Getting to the new Steelers, I'm pretty sure there's a PR agent there saying, yeah, you can't go on that show.
Of course,
Because of what I just said earlier. We're not here to appease the media. And they're currently in a situation where everything they do, what kind of toothbrush do you use? What kind of toothpaste do you use? Do you drink Coke or do you drink Pepsi? Do you have water before the game? Is it orange Gatorade or red Gatorade? All that stuff is under a microscope for today's athletes. And it shouldn't be like that, because at the end of the day, in all reality, they put their pants on the same way you and I do, Brandon, one leg at a time.
who are some of the former Steelers players that y'all have had the privilege of interviewing?
Oh, okay, JT, if I forget them, you come in behind me. So we've done Chad Brown, we've done Levon Kirkland, we've done Randy Flowers, not Randy Flowers,
Fuller.
Fuller, thank you. Sorry, folks. Randy Flowers was the guy that JT and I used to work with. So Randy Fuller, Cordell Stewart, Mike Webster's son, JT. Oh, Thomas Everett. Man.
Yes. John Jackson.
Thank you. Keep going, JT. I mean,
John Jackson, the infamous Joe Gordon, who was hired initially with Chuck Noll, and I believe 1963, as the director of media and player personnel media type of stuff. So he was a wonderful interview, gave us some insight into things that you've never heard or never read of anywhere. That was pretty cool. And more recently, we had a guy who is a celebrity comedian, a Mike Tomlin impersonator on. Josh Prey is his name. We'll give him a shout out. You can find him out. Type Josh Prey. He's an impersonator, and he does a great Mike Tomlin. So shout out to Josh. And recently here, the announcer of both Pitt basketball and the Steelers radio broadcast of the Pittsburgh Steelers, none other than the hardest working man in NFL radio, Mister none other than Bill Hillgrove himself. And it was a wonderful interview. He gave us quite a bit of time, and that was a great, man. Who else? Did we miss anybody?
Oh, we've missed a whole bunch, JT. I mean,
We've had a lot of fun guests on, certainly, too. But
we have.
What has that been like, obviously getting to hear those former Pittsburgh Steelers players' stories of when they were playing?
Okay. All right. One other. Wait a minute. We did forget somebody. TA.
Mike Mularkey.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a few more we forgot, but yes.
Yeah,
Coach.
Yes. Yeah.
Coach was a great interview. Coach helped us out a lot. And, yeah, we want to have Coach back on again. Coach gave us a different perspective and a different outlook, and it was nice to have a coach's perspective. I'll just leave it at that. Anybody who needs to listen to it, go back and listen to that episode.
It was back from 2020, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like late 2020. So yeah, that was that was insightful interview too. We heard some things, and the world caught wind of some things, both the next morning locally in the Pittsburgh market, and even years later, somebody from ESPN came across this interview, and it was enlightening in lieu of some of the things that were going on with the NFL, particularly the hiring practices that were up for debate and under lawsuits by somebody none other than one of those being Brian Flores, who last year was currently a member of the Steelers coaching staff and was one of the ones involved in the lawsuit. So the comments that were made about that whole process way back then when Coach Mularkey was presented with the opportunity to have that job, there were some things that he would have done different. So I encourage everybody to go back, go to SteelersRealm.com, go back through, scroll down to the bottom of the page where audio episodes are, because we only have the audio version of this. But scroll down to the Mike Mularkey episode, and I guarantee you'll be like, wow, this was something way back then, and it still has an effect on the NFL in general right now. Wouldn't you say, TA?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And some of the interviews that we've had, Brandon, have really shed some positive and negative light to the NFL. And in all reality, it's not to bust anybody's chops or to mark any certain person, but there's a good and evil to everything. And what we normally see is the facade of the good, but there is an ugly side to everything. And we've been fortunate to see both sides and not judge one way or the other by any stretch of the imagination, but more fascinated to hear the stories and to be in awe and grateful that they felt comfortable enough to share it with us. And we haven't done anything with any of these stories except just let it ride.
Of course, what has that been like, obviously hearing those athlete stories like Kirkland sharing his story?
Fantastic. Shelby Cassesi.
Shelby
Yeah.
Cassesi, yes.
Shelby Cassesi is a local Pittsburgh area reporter. She does a phenomenal job. She's co-hosted on some Steelers programs, news articles, and has a segment of her own too. So a plug for Shelby, fantastic Pittsburgher and sports enthusiast as well too. Shelby Cassesi, and she does she does a couple nice spots too. So look her up. Has been inspirational guest too.
And to answer your question, Brandon, when LaVon Kirkland was on, to hear about what he's done after pro football. Some of the things during, don't get me wrong, we're all great, but we want to know the person. We want to know the people and getting to learn how much his alma mater has meant to him. you know, i- his charities that he's involved in, the things that he's doing that isn't fanfare today that he's still doing. He doesn't need to do any of it. He's a
Right.
millionaire. He could be sitting on an island somewhere drinking pina coladas and not care anything. But here he is still giving back to the community that gave to him to get him to where he's been. That's the genuine, heartfelt stories that I think we love to hear the most.
Yep.
And most people don't get enough recognition for. Cordell Stewart was another one when we interviewed him, knowing what he's doing today. And he had gone quiet, silent, hadn't heard from him in a decade. And then to hear what he's been doing, just been doing it quietly. No fanfare, no bravado, no I'm not quite sure if I know the word I'm looking for, but it's not the arrogance that you see now with the chest bumping and look at me and the TikTok videos and this, that, and the other. It was about being a professional. Today's athletes missing that right now, Brandon.
Of course, what are some of y'all's future plans in the future with your podcast?
To have an interview with Brandon again. Brandon and JT, I'll take this. We just want to continue to be grown organically. We want people to tune in. We want people to listen. We want people to go ahead and critique us, good, bad, or indifferent. It's not that you're going to hurt our feelings by any stretch of the imagination. We just love talking to people. And most importantly, we love talking Steelers football.
Yep. And we love jarring back and forth with other teams' fans as well too. Ravens fans, Browns fans, Bengals fans, they're all up for grabs too. Bring it on. We love the interaction and we love the fun and the camaraderie. And just to keep it going. We just want to stay here. Keep doing what we're doing, buddy. That's about it. Really.
What advice would you give those people out there that are looking to start their own sports team podcast for their covering their own sports team?
Longevity, stick with it. It's hard. It's not easy. This isn't for the faint of heart. It really truly isn't. There's got to be dedication. Would you say that, JT?
Oh yeah, much more than even that we could, have the ability to put towards it. It's tough, but you got to be passionate about it. If you're going to start it, then ride it through and just be passionate about it and stick to your guns. Stick to your guns and do what you want with it, right? While we're
Yeah,
still free to do that.
And the other thing I was going to say, if you think you're going to get rich doing this, then you're in it for the wrong reason. I mean, I get it. There's a bunch of TikTokers, podcasters, and they've got their lucky break. They're getting their 15 minutes of fame and they're making the money. But you know what? They're probably going through a whole lot more stress than what we are right now. We just want to be the normal average Joe. Just hear stories. We're storytellers. I am a storyteller. Love to tell stories. We just wanted to keep being genuine and not commercial. Matter of fact, Brandon, I tell you what, and I'll give you a prime example, and JT loves it when I go off script and I go political. Have you heard of Oliver Anthony?
Mm-mm.
You haven't heard Oliver Anthony? JT, have you heard Oliver Anthony?
No, do tell, TA.
Thank you, JT. I knew you'd give me my 3 seconds. Oliver Anthony is like a TikTok sensation right now for the last 2 weeks, maybe even 3 solid. He has blown up TikTok over one song that he has done. But if you follow him and you look at what he is trying to say or do, he's a normal, average guy that wants nothing to do with nothing. He has his 15-second of fame, even so much he turned down an $8 million record deal right now at this present time and moment. And again, he's just an average guy putting out an average message trying to reach the average folks. It's as simple as that.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find y'all at on podcast platforms and on social media?
Pretty simple. SteelersRealm.com. All our links to all our social media is there, or just type in Steelers Realm Podcast anywhere you get your podcast, and you'll get it up. And you'll find our podcast too.
Thank you again, both of y'all, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the Steelers Realm Podcast.
Hey, thanks, Brandon. Same to you, buddy. Good luck with yours too, as well. Let us know if you ever need some guests on again to talk follow up.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, both of y'all, for your interview, and best luck in your future with the Steelers Realm.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks. Peace.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.